I'm so sorry, both of you. Your son didn't make it. You were his second favorite thing to be sent to the graveyard by. Don't beat yourself up. If I couldn't protect him, there's no way you could have. What? Come to rub it in? It's okay. He'll be in a better place. Hey there, Kaiser Coliseums. Welcome back to Week 8, and thank you so much for being here as we commemorate our second ever bad end of Progression Playoffs 5Ds. If only it were under happier circumstances. I'm not in the mood much for gloating or celebrating. I would just like for everyone to pay their respects. Ronintoadin died for the bad end, and his dying wish was that we got to open Hidden Arsenal 2. Everyone go out and tell Joe that we want to open Hidden Arsenal. Just show him the polls. Alright, this is it, everyone. This is the Shining Darkness. This is where we turn it all around. The home of Ronintoadin to complete the Frog Trinity. Swab Frog, Dupe Frog, Ronintoadin. We only need 2. That's all we're looking for in this set. And any summonable synchro, Spore might be nice too. But really that's all we need. Ronintoadin, 2 copies. And I guarantee you it is bad ends for the rest of 5Ds. Let's do this. Okie dokie. No Ronintoadin pack 1. Crevice into the different dimension. If anyone sees this and whiffs up the spice that we'll be playing, that could be kind of rough. Banishes. Forbidden Graveyard, please. Oh, Gen X Undyne. Yeah, we're looking for Gen X Undyne and Gen X Controller as well, by the way. Multiple Gen X Controller. Gen X Undyne, Gen X Controller in your deck, and Gen X Controller is one of the largest garnets in Yu-Gi-Oh! History, and that is Ronintoadin number 1. Dealing with 1 Ronintoadin, we just really, really want to. 3 is too many. Don't play 3 Ronintoadin. You hear that, all you listening at home? Do not play 3 Ronintoadin. I didn't even intend to start singing that. It's just, I guess it's just the subliminal frog song. Spore. Alright, we only need 1 Spore. No second Ronintoadin yet. X-Saber, Dark Soul, X-Sabers. That's a hard card to get. Alright, this is the last few packs. This is getting kind of sweaty. I'm getting kind of concerned. Oh, okay, we did it. Woohoo! Woohoo! Doo-doo! Okay. Alright. 5Ds is mine from here on out. 5Ds is over. Gavin owns 5Ds. There will be nothing but bad ends for the rest of 5Ds. That is a promise. Every week, 100 years of Gavin. Nothing but Gavin for the rest of 5Ds. Okay, now that we're through with the big sad, I wanted to start with Twitter. Last week we put up quite a brazen tweet stating that we would not be dropping another game through the end of the 5Ds series all the way through the live show. That is because we knew that we would absolutely dominate with the style of deck that we would be playing this week. And despite the changes that we're going to be needing to make to that strategy in the future, I am holding strong to this. So if you haven't seen this or you haven't been on Twitter yet, go out, like this tweet, share this tweet. I'm going to hold to this. We are currently 2-0 through that challenge, and we are going to hold to our word. So here's my pool. I, like an enormous chungus, was so excited that we pulled those two Ronintoadins at the end that I completely forgot to save the YDK file of my draft. So I went in and I watched through the video and I manually plugged in the things I wanted to highlight for today. And those things are Genix Controller, Kwakimeru Sandman. Ew, we only have 2. We got 3 Guardian though. Genix Undyne, Ally of Justice Core Destroyer, X-Saber Dark Soul, Spore, X-Saber Palomoro, Key Mouse, Into the Void, Silent Graveyard? It's not what my paper says. Chaos Trap Hole, Blackwing Backlash, Crevice into the Different Dimension, Guard Mines, Infernity Break, and Leeching the Light. And here it is, the masterpiece, the work of art, the closest thing we're ever going to get to Frog Monarch in the 5D series. My deck for the Shining Darkness. Come on, settle in, and let me give you the rundown of the deck. 3 Armored Axon Kicker. This card has tons of synergy with our deck. 2 Fortune Lady Earth. This card was insane. It reads Infinite Level Eaters, pressure for just standing there, burning the opponent for 400 every time a turn passes, and she gets huge. 2 Level Eater. This was the other tribute fodder in the deck. Ronintoadin was the primary consistent, but Level Eater continued to summon itself out and provide other tribute monsters. The Monarch of the deck, 3 Master Gig, gets immediate value on summon. Card has just been really, really good for us. Quick Draw Synchron and Kobold Hedgehog to go into our Nitro Warrior that we can finally play. Ronintoadin, the absolute boy. So sad to see this go. And then 3 1-for-1 gets you either your Fishborg or your Level Eater. Inverse Universe gives you an alternate win con in a world where you just summon out a bunch of Ronins or change your big butt dudes to attack position and then just get in with 2k swingers. Needlebug Nest gets so much value in this deck. Almost everything in this deck is a live hit. Axon Kicker is a live hit. Any of the frogs are live hits. Fishborg is a live hit. Fortune Lady is not a live hit. Level Eater is a live hit. Master Gig is a live hit. Quillbolt is a live hit. Everything wants to be in the graveyard because at this point, the graveyard is our second hand. Things just fly out of the graveyard for no reason, gaining us tremendous amounts of value, which we're using to go into our big tribute monsters that have really excellent effects that get immediate value on board. Master Gig through clearing out creatures, Armored Axon Kicker through summoning creatures back through our graveyard, and Fortune Lady Earth by scaling and burning the opponent. While we're normally spending this segment analyzing why we lost, or what our deck is intended to do, or how our deck sort of half works, let's just talk about how we absolutely crushed it and that my deck did exactly what it was built to do on command. Let's do it. And unfortunately for Leah, this was a perfect example of my deck working exactly the way that it was supposed to. So this opener is insane. Double Needlebug, 1-for-1 with Fishborg Blaster in hand and Fortune Lady Earth. We go ahead and make our opening play. 1 for 1, discarding the Fishboard Blaster, summon the Level Eater, tribute summon Fortune Lady Earth. Leah's opening is next to nothing. She top decks a Snowman Eater, which I'm sure she feels pretty good about, imagining that she's going to be able to clear the monster that we just tribute summoned out, and then get pretty ahead. Unfortunately for her though, our mills are pretty good, and then our top deck is insane. Nothing else really of threat in Leah's hand. She can Moray of Greed for more stuff, which she will go ahead and do. Not quite yet. I guess she wants all of those. Our mills are not the best. We really only hit a Quillbolt. We hit some frogs for the inevitable Ronintoadin, but really the only thing that we hit in this 10-card mill is 1 Quillbolt Hedgehog, which is going to matter a lot. We go ahead and we top deck Armored Axon Kicker, summon the Level Eater out, tribute summon it. Leah doesn't want to have Armored Axon Kicker summoning things out from the graveyard, so she pops it with Snowman Eater. I get in, pass it back to her. She Moray of Grease, draws into nothing. There's really still no threat here. It's a bunch of stall stuff. Everyone just believes that because we're in this slow frog format that we're just going to be setting cards and stalling all game. But you really need to have a payoff to go into, and Leah is seriously suffering from that. I draw Psychic Tuning, which is an insane draw. She goes into Flip-Flop, hoping that setting a Flip-Flop will be able to continue to send some of these tribute dudes back to our hand, but 1 Flip-Flop isn't going to do enough. We can continue to summon out Level Eaters and tribute summon the dudes that are sent back to our hand. However, our top deck is a Master Gig, and that's going to spell the end of the game for Leah. We're going to use that Psychic Tuning to bring back the Armored Axon Kicker. Armored Axon Kicker is, whoa, a tuner! Letting us summon out the Quillbolt Hedgehog for free. We tribute summon Master Gig with the Level Eater and the Quillbolt Hedgehog. We immediately use Master Gig's effect to pop that face-down card, which is neither a 3-star or a water monster for Aegis. And then Leah's got a Graceful Revival, but she doesn't have the life to get to... She doesn't have the life to get through all of this. And that is the end of Game 1. As much as I absolutely want to show you this Joe game and be able to say intelligent things about it, there's really not a ton here exciting that happens. Joe gets incredibly outvalued by my deck, and sure, I guess you could say it was the hand that he drew. But we immediately get the Ronin online. Turn 2, we put out a threat in the form of Fortune Lady Earth, and it just feels like we're in a very similar situation to the Leah game, where Joe just never amounts any sort of meaningful threat. Like, that was kind of cool there. They used Flip-Flop Frog to throw my board back to my hand. But we've got a Ronin ready to go in the graveyard. We've got Swap Frog. We have tons of ways to special summon cards and tribute summon cards and present threats that bouncing 2 with Flip-Flop and saying go with no follow-up, it's just not enough. It's not enough whatsoever. And so this is going to be really similar to the Leah game, where it's just the problem of Joe never amounted any sort of meaningful threat against me, and he just I whittled his cards away until he had no cards anymore. I was up so much and just kept throwing my cards around, putting more Ronins in the graveyard, summoning more threats, until Joe just ran out of cards. Yeah, he really, I think, eventually... I think it's the turn after this that Joe finally gets a monster with more than 100 attack. That's an exaggeration. I think Genix Controller was the largest thing that Joe summoned until the Medusa, and that's just not going to cut it at all. Interested to see what was exactly in Joe's deck, because he made the comment that he was going for something really similar to me, maybe it just didn't pan out in the hand. There were some things in the deck that we did struggle with. We struggled with the number of fishboard to play. Whether or not to play 2 or 3 flip-flop. I landed on 2, and I think that was the right decision. This is the other, if I don't see Swap Frog, this could send Ronin. This is the only way that you can Foolish Burial your Fishboard Blaster. I ultimately did not play it, because Genix Controller is one of the biggest garnets in the entire game, and drawing it really sucks, and I did not want to play multiples. Well, whether or not to play more than 1 Quick Draw, whether or not to play 1 or 2 Quillbolt, we only have 2. But I think with the consistency that Ronintoadin could summon itself out nearly unconditionally, we didn't need to play more than 1 Quillbolt. With Ronin being gone in the future, we will need to play more cards that summon themselves out of the graveyard for free, like Quillbolt, if we continue to play this strategy of deck. The third Ronin I did not struggle with. Don't play 3 Ronin, play 2. Danny played 3, and he lost to Joe. Coincidence? I think not. We were playing 3 Fish Depth Charge initially over the Inverse Universe, and then we cut it to 2 just because we weren't seeing it at the same time that we were seeing Fishborg a lot, and while it did generate a lot of value with Fishborg, a card that was less dead most of the time was Inverse Universe, because it's so easy to summon Ronin. This was value. This was a win condition. We played the win condition, and it paid off. Let's go see what everybody else played this week and see if anyone was playing any win conditions at all. Here we are with Brent's deck, and Brent, I must say, is playing the coolest deck out of everyone next to me. He's also going for a Needlebug Nest strategy in an X-Saber core. The Needlebug Nest payoffs he is playing are Level Eater, Plague Spreader Zombie, 3 Quillbolt Hedgehog, X-Saber Palamuro, which says that when an X-Saber is destroyed by battle, you can pay 500 life points to summon this from the graveyard, and if you have multiples in the graveyard, you can summon all of them. And Ragigira, which says that when this card is normal summoned or special summoned, you can target 1 X-Saber monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. That way, milling any of these X-Sabers is a live target for Ragigira. Summoning multiple X-Sabers onto the field will let you summon Full Helm Knight, which says that you can special summon him if you control 2 X-Saber monsters, and once per turn, Full Helm Knight can special summon 1 level 4 or lower X-Saber monster from the graveyard. I really like this, and it almost beat Danny in the week, and it makes me do some thinking. I have an Emrys Blade, so maybe I could actually pull something like X-Sabers off. I've got Emrys Blade, Dark Soul, and Full Helm Knight, so maybe I could pull some X-Saber stuff off. Brent taking advantage of his 2 copies of 1-for-1. Really good with Ragigira, Palermo, Level Eater. Brent certainly, he played threats in the form of Full Helm Knight, Tricky, Axon Kicker, and Axon Kicker with that Needlebug Nest and those small X-Sabers. Axon Kicker can summon that Ragigira. Ragigira can get value by then adding a card to your hand, so I really like the combination of Axon Kicker with the X-Sabers. Maybe I'll be trying something like this out in the future. Here we are with Danny's deck, and immediately what I see is that we have 0 main deck threats outside of a Ronintoadin Inverse Universe combo, which did win his game, so there's something to be said about that. But he's really relying on the value engine from the frogs and the bounce effects with Flip Flop Frog and the Fish Depth Charge with his 3 Fishborg Blaster. That is a lot. That is a lot of Fishborg, but I guess if you're not playing Needlebug Nest and you don't have 1-for-1, you kind of want to see the Fishborg so that you can Fish Depth Charge, so I can understand it. Oh, he's playing 3 Genix Undyne and 1 Genix Controller, so Danny really, really wants to see that Genix Undyne so that he could send that Fishborg. He has Debris Dragon into Iron Chain, Crevice into the Different Dimension. I knew that people were going to be playing Crevice. I opted to just kill my opponent instead of trying to outvalue with Crevice, and fortunately it never showed up against me. Here's Leah's deck, and what is going on? The week that everyone could have been doing the coolest things possible with 5Ds, There's no way to win the game in this deck. Or you're just stalling until you inverse universe a bunch of Ronintoadins. And that is just not going to cut it. Joe really was not kidding when he was like, we're all going to be set monsters and staring at each other, because that's what everyone else was planning on doing. There's not even fantastic ways to make synchros in this deck. This deck is a little tighter than Danny's list, but oh man, how did everyone build so poorly this week? So, Joe says that he was going for a similar strategy to me, but he's only playing 3 Medusa, and that is just so not going to cut it at all. It's a good thing that we tested the deck with just the 3 Master Gig when we discovered that the deck needed way more than 3 threats to be able to win the game. So we put on the Axon Kickers and the Fortune Lady Earths, and we eventually landed on a good ratio of fodder value and threats to play. Joe is playing a slightly greater number of ways to win the game than everyone else with this reptilian package he's got going on. And you know what? Joe may have also had a chance of winning the game if he was able to push some early damage and then activate Fairy Wind on a Psychic Tuninged Master Gig to deal a big 3,500 points of damage to me. I was really concerned about that when I saw Joe flip a Fairy Wind. I was like, oh no, he's gonna Fairy Wind my Psychic Tuning and I'm gonna die. Didn't happen, thankfully. Yeah, this is so sad. I really wanted to win in this glorious, awesome... I wanted to have really awesome games where there was back and forth play, but my deck eventually overcomes. But it was just a week of stomps, apparently. Leah uses her ban this week to get the most value that she possibly could. Not only does Leah ban a card that she has absolutely no access to, she bans a card that is really, really important for me. And Brent has 2 copies, and it's really good for him too. I mean, after me just stomping Leah, she really got the most out of her ban. Just take a big swing at me. And the other ban I don't even want to talk about. As far as the standings, Leah and Joe, I am coming for you! And I do believe that wraps it up for today. Pay your respects to Ronintoadin, everyone. Give us Hidden Arsenal 2. And because we do deserve it, congratulations on the 2nd Bad End!